So the first thing we wanted to do is say, okay, well, what do we need? You know, we need to see our user ID. We also, he said he needs to see which account those transactions posted to, the date that posted, the description of that transaction, and that amount. So those were our headers. As we went through the filters, he really only said two things. He needed to know like a date, and then we could add in the user ID, right? And instead of running for all users, maybe run for one and then another one, so you can try and narrow it down. So we built that as a filter. So we got our filters. The next thing we have to do is determine which tables we're going to go from. The hint said we can build this all from the GL entry. Now, why can we build this all from the GL entry? Especially if one is a summary list and one is a data dump. Well, the reason for that is we want to get a list as our primary every user that posted to the GL account. In fact, actually, you know what? Hey, oh, you know what? This is hard-coded in my 6110, 6120, 6130. I want to know who are all the users that posted in January to 6110, 6120, or 6130. And the reason this is a summary list is they could have posted multiple times, so it's a non-unique field. So once we filter that out, we've got all our users with a rows equals 4. We drop down and we do a data dump. This is where everybody kind of got caught up. Yeah.
If I didn't do a data dump, but I got all the same stuff as you guys.
You didn't do a data dump here?
Transaction line, and that's why
Oh,
she's
okay.
pulling out with a unique identifier.
Gotcha. Did you pull the transaction number?
Okay.
So, same way as SkimCat.
So it works.
Essentially, yeah, it works exactly the same. It's going to run slower
Okay.
because it has to go through, find all those entry numbers, and then do an NL first to call back each time. But it works. On small reports, you're not going to notice the difference. When it gets really large, I now have to compare 3 years of worth of data. You're going to sit there and twiddle your thumbs for a while. So what Kristen said is she did a little bit different. She did a summary list and recognized that in the GL entry table, there is a unique identifier like any table. And that it's the entry number. So she said, okay, well give me every entry number that this user posted in this date range for one of those accounts. And then did an NL first to say, give me the account number, the posting date, the first for the description, and first for the amount. Okay. That one entry will have just a one value for each of those. This will run faster. Essentially, this is what this is returning. If we bring this out, we can see this is entry number 2552. If I were to show all those, we could see all those entry numbers. So in my data dump, rows, GL entry, left the field parameter blank for one of those 3 accounts, for one of those posting dates, but my user ID pointed right here. And then I use my NF statements to call back. Just look at that, bring me back the GL account number. Now why didn't we have to do a cell reference workaround for this one? Oh, you did. But the way this is set up, how come we don't have to do a cell reference workaround?
It's already in
Right. The rule is if one of our secondary detail needs to reference something in my primary detail or primary list, then I have to implement the cell reference workaround. This is not my detail. This is the actual secondary list, and it can see the value above it. So since we filtered out all of those values and said, well, these are the records that meet this criteria, none of these needed to reference anything in that upper value. So in this instance, we didn't have to do a cell reference workaround. Would it have hurt to do it? Nope. Wouldn't have made a difference because I would just pull this here, here, and then looked here instead of there.
That's what I do.
Yeah. So when I do it, I just always do it. Just out of habit, you never know. Because I might now need, the sum of those transactions. Now I have to implement that cell reference workaround to get that, because now I've got a data dump, but I've got some firsts or sums or something along those lines in there. So it can't hurt to do that. Our second one was far more complex. Okay? Good old Janice, throwing us all kinds of crazy good stuff. especially when it's got 7 or 8 hints. It's got to be an easy example. But she needed a report that showed all customers who have purchased inventory from us during the current month and the prior month. The report should be grouped by customer and list all items we sold to each customer. For each item, show the item's number, description, total amount purchased for the current month, and the total amount for the previous month. For each customer, the report should only show the number and the name. And I want to be able to run the report for all customers or just one customer at a time, and I need to be able to run the report for all items or one item at a time. So this is a pretty extensive report request, and I will be honest, I've never gotten one so detailed. I can get it eventually by pulling teeth and saying, here are my list of 12 questions that I have for you. But never has anybody come to me with a report like this. So we created our filters, right? We followed our hints, and one of them said to create one for our current month, one for our prior month, and one for our customer number, one for our item number, right? Because she said you might want to filter on those. So let's look at our primary replicator. Our rows equals 4. And we're going to the item ledger entry table. We had to say, give me a unique list of values for my source number. For this posting date, and we had to do that little weird ampersand trick. For that source number, for that item number, where the entry type is sale. We then just used a first to grab the name of that customer, go to the customer table. Tell me what the name of that customer is. She said that's the only thing she needs to know about the customer. But now we need to know all the items that that customer purchased from us. So I drop down one row. I say, okay, what do I need to do? I need to create a list of rows. Go to my item ledger entry table. Give me a unique list of items that they purchased. I need to do a summary list here. Why? Because they might have bought that same item from us multiple times. So we want to uniqueify those results. We add in our posting date, purchased one of these 2 days, or 2 ranges. Our source number changed. We had to do a cell reference workaround here. Our item number and our entry type of sale. Our description, just like our customer name, was just a first. Give me the description of this item. It's going to our master item table.
Could you slow down? The item number is pointing at where?
The item number? Well, technically it should be pointing here. So our item number says, look at this value here. Look at this prior month, or the last month, and the prior month.
Could you open the
Sure.
NL window?
So what we want to do is we want to really think this through. What do we want? I want a list of items. Great. Under what criteria? Well, we want a list of items where something posted in either this date or this date, right? So that's why I've got my posting date with that little funky dude there. I want to say that we sold to this item, to this customer.
To this customer.
Okay. The item number, well, we're putting up here because what if we filter to one specific item, right? So I've got that reference. And then entry type of sale. So give me all the items we sold to this client during this range. That could be one of these items.
And that's on the
This is the item number replicator here.
item number.
Okay. I've got everyone's email, so I'll make sure you have all these files. So even if you don't get them all down right now, you will have this.
Posting date
And the entry type, what did you put? Sell.
Sale, right?
of
So we're only concerned about sales. We're not concerned about purchases or transfers, consumption, output, only sales. The description, we pulled that from our item table. That's just a first. But this is where it got a little bit, more tricky. I need to get the sum. Give me the sum of all the transactions for this item sold to this customer during one of these months. So some item ledger entry, sales amount, actual. Posting date, we chose C2, we just said last month. Should say current month. Our source number, we're looking at our cell reference workaround. Our entry number, our item number, we're looking back at our replicator here. And our entry type of sale. Now for our previous month, the only thing that's different, everything's exactly the same, except our posting date, we look at C3 instead of C2.
Will you come back to H?
This one here?
First item description.
Yeah, I'm basically saying, hey, you know what, I need to get the description of this item that's stored in the item table.
Ah.
Just go back there and when the item number matches that, bring back the description that is associated with it. So yeah, this report actually goes to the customer table, the item ledger entry table, and the item table. So this one was a little bit more complex. We had to kind of think things through, we had to kind of plan ahead. This month, prior month, how are we going to build all that? Where are we going to pull these from various areas?
Can I see the amount purchased current month?
That should be this.
That's okay.
And the prior month, right, is going to be exactly the same, except the filter is going to be pointing at a different posting date.
Still not empty.
Item number could be multiple.
Can you run your
Sure.
Oh, he's taking a pic of his son.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Should have one whole section where it's just blank, which is silly.
Okay.
But I don't have here.
Sorry, Ryan, can you go back to the column I? Yeah. Oh.
Everything else is linked off of this. As long as this is linked to the item number, right, good point, you do have that.
We'll talk about charts and graphs tomorrow morning. It's in our book. It's a very, very short thing, but I want to talk about the GL today. And I want to talk about, our columns. I'm trying to determine if I want to do that with fresh brains or mushy brains.
Fresh.
Let's talk about, let's start the day off tomorrow talking about the GL. I know, Glenn, you wanted to kind of touch on that. I can show off some stuff. We'll go over it again tomorrow. I'll show it in a really high level type of thing rather than go into real detail. Because I know these are 2 very long days.
Here's our challenge, is that
Okay.
probably, we have 2 types of reports, obviously financial and operational.
Okay.
The financial are going to be relatively easier to write or test because we have sample data.
Gotcha.
Unlike the operational part, we just don't have a lot of good data.
Okay.
The other thing is, based on our rollout, it appears that we're going to need the financial reports first.
Okay.
So they're really important.
Okay.
They're going to be I think it'd take a lot of time, and I think
Okay.
so much of them are financial.
That's
I
totally
would offer, don't
Here's what we can do. We can,
glaze over it too much.
yeah, no, we'll cover it what we can today, and we'll start with it tomorrow as a review.
Okay.
Just so that way, you know, this is a lot of information to absorb. And I usually find by the end of the day too, it's a lot of like, I can't take anymore. And a lot of things that we teach, and that's why some of the stuff at the back is like, how do I add a chart and graph? How do I do this dynamic formatting? How do I do this? It's more kind of
What do y'all think?
pretty stuff. But like I said, we can go over, I will leave out the whole idea of columns. No, we'll talk about columns and our companies. We'll do that. I think I can give you a really good overview of it and how the GL function works. To be honest, it's not scary. It's pretty easy. Okay? It's pretty self-explanatory, and you don't have to think through it as much. So, okay? So let's kind of plan on that for the remainder of the day.
Right.
You know, well, we've got Scott coming in at 4 to make sure everybody's computers are good. So I'm going to spend the last 25 minutes going over that. We'll finish a little bit early. You consider that your break for right now. Okay? Because I want to make sure we get that. If we finish with it early, we can certainly take a break.